It is 6 o'clock. We're going to open up with roll call. Mr. Oglesby?
Here.
Mr. Reynolds? Here. Ms. Flint? Here. Ms. Watkins? Mr. Turner?
Here.
Ms. Jackson? Here. All right. As published in the paper, this is our meeting for tonight for the purpose of R&R and budget hearings. And we're going to start out with appointment of a new council member that will fill the Ward 4 council seat that was previously held by Lisa Botkin. We have two, not really applicants, two interested parties. So this will be made in a motion by council members. We have Ricky Tracy, lives at 1311 East 12th Street. And then our second is Larry Cure, lives at 1024 East 11th Street. I'll read, so this is just a general interest form, application form that they did online. This is for Rick Tracy. It says, I've been a supervisor. So the question is, what special qualifications, if any, do you have to make a good candidate? It says, I've been a supervisor in the manufacturing industry and have had to make decisions that make people upset, but it was for the benefit of the company. I believe that this would apply to the city of Galena, as decisions have to be made that not all will agree with, but it would definitely benefit the city and community as a whole. I've also volunteered in Galena at Galena Days, Friday Night Lights, the Galena schools, and local churches. I coached basketball, football, and baseball in Galena. Although I did not attend school in Galena, my name is on a plaque in the high school music department for my service to the school and its students. I've lived or worked here since 1999 and call Galena my hometown. It is of utmost importance to me that Galena be the best it can, and if I can help by serving on the council, I'm ready and willing. And then Larry Cure wrote, I have served on the council for several years. Some of you might remember that. I have belonged to many local organizations and served in many offices. I served on the Kansas Elks Budget Committee for over 15 years. So those are our two candidates, I guess, per se. I guess you would call them candidates. So what discussions or moves would you like to make?
I'd like to nominate Rick Tracy.
Rick Tracy? Any discussion? Any? Okay, we have, is that an emotion?
Yes, that would be a second.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Rick Tracy.
Okay, we have a motion by Jamie Jackson to nominate Rick Tracy. Okay, I second. Second? Second by Nancy Flint. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Rick Tracy, you are a new council member. Are we going to start him now? Does he start now? Okay. So we do not have a notary present, but as soon as we do, when that is, we will swear you in and then you will start.
Okay.
Is that good? So Rick Tracy's in the back. Stand up, Rick. That is Rick Tracy.
Aye.
He's our new council member. Let's welcome him. All right, next. So we have the R&R hearing. So we will officially open the R&R hearing. And what this stands for is the revenue neutral rate. This was put in by the state a handful of years ago. Mr. Mintz, this is Gene Mintz over here sitting in the front row. Gene, will you raise your hand? Not to put him on the spot, but he's our auditor. Did I say that correctly? Yes. He's an accountant, been with the city for many, many years. So they implemented this, and what the R&R rate is it's an amount that is set by an equation that says at this mill levy rate, it will bring in the same amount of monies as it did the prior year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did I say that right? Mm-hmm. So the hearing is to say we either have to state, and we did this probably 2 months ago now, whether you are going to exceed it or not, because you have to put out to the public you're going to exceed it. And you probably got, if you are a resident of the state of Kansas anywhere, even if it's not the city, if it's in another location, you probably received a letter that says this is what is going to happen. It always gives the worst case scenario. So that doesn't necessarily mean that is exactly what the mill levy is going to be. That's just the highest that it's going to be. So that means we can bring it down. You just cannot go over the amount that was listed on the tax form that you received. So this is the official hearing for it. Do we have any input or questions from the audience? And Mr. Mintz, you can help out if we do not know. If you don't mind Sorry to put you
No
on the
problem.
spot.
No problem.
So how much is it raising?
So probably do that in the budget, but actually, give me a second. So I'm going by mill levy. Our mill levy in 23 was 87.664. Our mill levy in the current 24 is 77.370, and the proposed for 25 will be 76.584. So that's not set in stone yet. That's just what's going to be proposed. Yes, sir.
Who does the annual appraisal?
Appraisals?
Yeah, 'cause
That'd
my
be
house went up to like almost $12,000.
That'd be the county appraiser, and what you can do, you can, what's it called, like protest, I guess, appeal, protest. I don't know exactly what that process is, if somebody's done that, I don't know if it's like a form you fill out or what you have to do, but you can do that, I know people do that all the time. I was also told, this isn't firsthand, but I have been told that they don't go around every year to check, like it's every maybe 3 years or so that they actually go by your property too. So that's something you can do. I don't know what the window of time is. Does anybody know what that is after you receive the statement?
When you pay your first half, you pay your first half under protest, and then they hold a hearing and everything else.
Okay.
And they have to do 17% of the county is all they have to go by and evaluate every year. I think 17 is the magic number.
Okay.
So it is about every 3 or 4 years before they
Come back around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
do we know how Galena's compares to other cities within the county and within the state?
the appraisals?
No, the revenue neutral rates. Is that
I
across the
don't.
board, or maybe
I don't
Mr.
know
Vince can
because
educate us?
Everybody's budget would have been different last year, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you can really do apples to apples. I don't know that. Would that be something you know?
I don't know that.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I worked for a company in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and we were looking at quoting out a sorority home, and one of the things that was holding it up was their taxes. So they started talking about what their taxes were, and I was like, well, if you guys know what your mill levies are, I can tell you if they're right or not. And I can tell you inside the city limits of Pittsburgh, their overall mill is extremely higher than Galena. By the time you take the city, the county, and the state. So it was almost 160 total. So
I think at one time when, like Burlington, where Wolf Creek Power Plant was, one of their mills was compared to like 15 of ours. So for them to raise a mill, I mean, it would be the equivalent of us trying to raise ours 15 mills. Yeah.
But I will say, and I didn't ask Tracy to get the actual number. So the housing incentives that we implemented 4 years ago, something like that, that has helped considerably with the build. You can drive around town. And I won't say that's 100% of why people are building, but I think it does entice people to build a little bit. And that is what will help with the tax base by spreading it out. So, not having to do anything else, solely bringing in new builds and new people, that will help too. And this would probably be part of the budget part, which doesn't have to do with mill rate necessarily, but Mr. Mintz was telling us everybody across the board, every entity in the county, Joplin, everybody in the four-state area has seen a dramatic sales tax decrease in what they've got in. And it sounds like what most people are saying is the reason is just the cost of everything is going up, so people are buying less. That's what the consensus seems like. I don't know how factual that really is, but that's what it seems. When Mr. Mintz first did our budget early summer and brought it in, he was worried because he said about 9% decrease in our sales tax. Well, then when he got looking around, one city in the county was 11%, Joplin was I don't even know how much less. So, you know, everybody is seeing the same thing as far as like sales tax goes, but that doesn't have to do with our mill levy. That's, you know, additional funds that are being brought in that we do rely on, that we do use, but that's not our mill levy. So, Mr. Waterman, I don't know if that's a form you can find online. I don't mind doing some research for you.
He was saying I could talk to Carla, or Myra.
Oh, Myra, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she would know probably all the ins and outs of what
She saw about the house from 7 years ago, and
Well,
it's went up every year.
Yeah.
Pretty big, so
She'd be probably the best person to ask and direct you what to do.
that's what I'll do.
And that's Carla from where?
Myra's Carla.
Yeah. She lives here, but she's our county commissioner. Yeah. Any other discussion? Just on the R&R, budget will be next, that'll be separate.
Right.
Okay, we will officially close the R&R hearing. So we need a motion, and this would be resolution 24-26 that says we are going to exceed the R&R rate. This isn't actually setting the levy, it's just saying we're going to exceed the R&R rate. It's resolution 24-26.
We don't attach a number to that, we just say we're gonna.
This is just to exceed. Yeah, just saying we are exceeding. Yeah.
I make a motion that we, acknowledge that we're gonna exceed the revenue neutral rate.
We have a motion by Bob Laturner to pass resolution 24-26 to exceed the revenue neutral rate.
I'll second that.
Second by Neil Oglesby. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, we need a roll call vote on that, sorry.
Mr. Oglesby?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Flint?
Yes.
Mr. Liffner?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yeah.
All right. The last part is our budget hearing. So we will officially open the budget hearing. I wanted to touch on a few things just to make note. So one of the things I came to know just a few hours ago is in reference to our fire tax. So if nobody recalls, when was that the county implemented that?
2019.
So 2019. So in 2019, the county implemented a fire tax, and what that is, it's for the townships, not for people residing in cities, but the townships. They have to pay a certain percentage of tax that is divvied between the area fire departments on who services them more, kind of. So everyone.
2.5 mils.
Huh?
2.5 mils.
2.5 mils, and so each fire department gets a percentage of different township monies. So it comes to us, and it's only being able to use, for certain things, fire equipment, things like that. Which was all great because, we as far as every fire department in the county services all these other townships, and I hate to say they were getting it for free, but they were kind of getting it for free. So this is just, paying, and some of the townships donated money. I mean, they did that. So it's not like none of them weren't doing anything. But anyway, so this is now set in an ordinance or statute or something. So we were trying to figure out for several years with Mr. Minton. He's probably very annoyed with me because I don't know how many calls and emails we've had over me not understanding this on the best way to set it up. So it either was staying in our general fund or going in the general and having it then moving it to its own line item, basically just to keep better record of it. And there was all the accounting is still there. It's just really a better record. So what I found out today was because I kept thinking we are being taxed on this money. And I thought, well, that is so not fair that it's not our citizens' money, but yet we're being taxed on it. That is not the case. So what I understand now is that money's coming in. We're putting it down to a fund in our general account. That's going to show we're spending it. We have to show all the money we plan to spend. Whether we end up spending it or not, we have to show what we plan to spend. But then it's also, in our budget, it's moved down to like a revenue line that's going to show the money coming in. So what it's essentially doing is washing out. So I asked him, do we have to put that up there showing it being transferred out in our general fund? He's like, well, no, but then we also have to take it out of the revenue. So it's really zeroing out. I did not understand the zeroing out part. I did not get the revenue part. So if anybody else was confused about that, if you're more confused now than you were before, please don't ask me. Ask Gene Mintz before he leaves because he can explain it much better than me. But that now makes much more sense. So if you ever see that, it's really just almost kind of like a flow through. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's kind of what it is. The money's coming in and then it's just gonna show that we're also taking money in and going to spend it. So that is that on the fire tax. I was just glad I understood it more as of, like I said, 2 hours ago. So we are proposing where did that number go? 76.584 proposed tax rate. I kind of went over this before we messed up our dates on the budget, because by statute we have to have certain dates and things done by, and so that's why we had to set this for tonight, because this was the actual last time we could do it. Real quick, I didn't tell him I was going to do this, but real quick for the department heads that are here, Josh had church tonight, so he could not make it. But if you will just mention maybe a few of the highlighted things in your budget that you would spend money on, that way, people know.
Ours is mainly payroll and then overhead of the city hall building and whatever the city council decides to.
Okay. Insurances too, stuff like that. Okay.
Also, didn't you come in lower than last year?
50,000 less.
And you decreased your staff by 25%?
Yep. Chief Dopkins, what plans do you have with your, outside of payroll? We know payroll, we know the insurances. Fuel's a big cost for both fire and police department and public works.
Yeah, upgrades in equipment, new Taser 10s are coming out.
Our biggest thing, we really haven't changed our budget in a couple, 3 years, but we were able to add, with kind of massage our budget, we were at a 4th driver, so we're covered 7 days a week. And then we've just been upgrading equipment, nozzles, hose. We just pretty much pick a truck every year, and we just do the whole thing, so.
Yeah.
And then fuel's a big deal for us. It really just depends on call volume. We're probably gonna have one of our busiest years, but we're doing good on fuel right now, so I don't suspect us to go over budget on fuel, but that's pretty much it.
And one,
volunteers do you have right now?
23.
sorry, Jamie. One thing I'll note, also, and include public works, is I feel, that when we maintain equipment and upgrade it slowly, then we're not seeing a huge increase all at once hitting us when something goes down. And sometimes we can't get around that. I know that we have wreck cars. I keep pointing at him. That was frightening. There was a few months stint that I felt like we got in several wrecks, not intentionally, but things happen. But I think, over time we'll save money by doing things like that instead of having to do it all at once. I know with cemetery, Josh put in for the pavilion at Oak Hill Cemetery, and I felt like there was something he did at the park, but I don't know that other big one. But cemetery would be mowing would be one of the big expenses there. Payroll, again, would be a big one. And all the departments, utilities are divvied out between those, so those are included in there. You see any other big ones? You'll see the economic development transfer, that's for our incentives. So that's when we plan, one of the incentives included in our building incentives is the builder, up on sale, gets $1,000. So, is that correct? Yes. So we're hoping that, we get enough builds that we use all that money. So that's what that's for, just to get a plan for that money with new builds. Then again, street lights. We have the VINs and stuff like that. Those are just set by statute for that's like when the police department does VIN inspections. So that's, library, will you tell us your plans? We put an increase there. We mentioned this. Library, to my knowledge, since I've been involved since 2014, library has not had an increase. I said this publicly before, but I didn't know we had that ability to do that. I thought it was some separate equation that they worked on, but it's not. It's like anything else. So library is getting a proposed increase if it passes. So will you tell us what you guys plan to do with your?
Yes, last year we didn't have enough money to do our summer library program, and so utmost important to me is to continue with all my programming for the kids. So
Can you tell? I mean, off the top of your head, I can tell you this, but about how many kids do you feel like you come through?
in the summer,
Yeah.
I have a minimum of 80 a week, and I do that 5 to 6 weeks.
And what about school year? Because I know you do morning.
Yeah.
Actually, my son was so bad yesterday, he got library privilege taken away, so he didn't get to go.
I wondered where.
Yeah, he and his cousins
too.
got library privilege taken away.
I do, well, I was just doing 3 programs a week, but I'm up to 4 now. So I do 4 different programs. I have daycare. The daycare comes on Thursday morning, and then I have 2 other story times on Thursday morning, and then I have my baby story time on Tuesdays.
And then adults too, you do things for adults too.
Yeah, we do a monthly book club, yes.
Book club for adults stuff. And they always do like holiday-ish type stuff. There's a Halloween thing, I think they had an Easter thing.
Yes.
Shark Week, we went to Shark Week, you know, so there's things like that they do also. So that is the proposed. Like I mentioned, 2024 current mill rate is 77.370. With all of that, so with the general that I just mentioned, that would be all of the items I mentioned, plus library. It's not in the general, it's separate. Then there's also debt services, which would be like, I have all of our debt services listed. There are 3 mills attached to that. Mr. Mintz, can you help explain our debt services?
Those are to, basically, those are to
Our
pay
bonds.
off the general obligation
Yes,
bonds that have
our
been
bonds.
issued in past years.
Yeah, so our general obligation bonds, and then the last is employee benefits. So adding all 4 of those together, that's what totals our proposed mill rate of 76.584. Any given year, all 4 of those equal whatever our mill rate is. So it's not just the general fund, it's all of those together. So I know that was a lot, but what questions either from the audience or the council discussion do we have?
So your mill levy's gonna go down.
Proposed, yes. Or should I say allegedly?
Well, the numbers you gave, your mill levy's gonna go down. Are you going to maintain the same revenue, or are you going to increase it?
I don't know the answer to that without running some numbers, because
Yeah.
that's not something we normally do. But as the mayor indicated, the sales tax is down.
I know the sales
Yeah.
tax is down.
Are you talking about like our water and sewer and those funds
Oh.
too, revenue? Is that what you're talking about too?
You talking about the
Your revenue neutral rate,
Yes.
is it going,
Even with going
Valuation-
down, it's still above the revenue neutral rate. Is that
That's what I
you're-
wanted to-
yes,
We will
yes,
be above the
yes.
revenue.
We are still exceeding the revenue neutral rate with the mill levy coming down.
thank you.
Yes. Correct. Yes, ma'am.
So with the mill levy coming down, does that mean like the property taxes and stuff will also be lowered, or is that?
So the equation would be when he brought up the appraised value,
Mhm.
so in essence, it could be yes or it could be no. If your appraised value
Yeah.
goes up just because your mill levy comes down, then not necessarily. So, like with that gentleman, it would be wise to go and protest your taxes. That way you could see maybe a decrease.
Okay.
So if your assessed value goes up at a higher percentage than our mill levy is coming down, no, not necessarily.
So residential right now is at 12%, right?
I think 11,
12, I thought it was
12.5,
11.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I have to check.
So
I think it's
11 or
11.
12.
Assessed value is
All I
11%
know is my
appraised.
dad has multiple properties and he's paying almost $4,000 a year in taxes. He's retired and, he has SSI, which is under $1,000.
Right.
So he's paying like $340 a month just in taxes.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I appealed mine and it went up more because there was other stuff they didn't realize I had done my job. It was not a good thing. It was not a good thing.
Yeah, so that is a problem I've heard,
That's
that if
why,
you appeal and they actually didn't come, check and view your home, and they come and you did do some stuff, then it could even go up.
So is it just on the exterior or is it on interior as well?
It's interior.
It's both.
Interior?
It's both. Anything they consider that's attached to the house that can't be moved. So it could be, like we protested ours several years ago and ours went down because there were certain things that in our basement that they thought we had done that we didn't, but they presumed that we did. So ours actually
So
went
he's
down.
possibly being taxed on assumptions.
You could be, yeah, it
Yeah,
could
could
be,
be.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it might be worth your while anyway.
okay, so is
And
there?
if you've not built, anything major or whatever, and
Mm-mm,
you don't mind them coming check your stuff,
no.
it might be worth your while.
But at
So,
the end of the day, being able to drop the mill levy is an incentive for house improvements to come up instead of having so many looking so ratty around and.
Yeah,
damaged.
because
It's an incentive for that
Hopefully.
improvement.
And hopefully, we see a few more builds this year, and then even next year we can drop a little more, I mean, that's always the idea.
Well, what happens with the ones that are being rented out?
As far as what?
The new homes and new duplexes, which is a lot of what's going on,
Uh-huh.
they're being rented out.
Uh-huh.
How does that help or hinder?
Well, it still goes to our tax
Full property
base.
taxes.
Still goes to
taxes,
property taxes, just the owner has to pay him. I mean, he might include that in
He
the
may
rent
pass that on
costs.
to the renter, but
Yeah.
he's still.
Makes your insurance go up.
So like Mr. Struve or Mr. Rose or whoever's doing all these, they're the ones that in charge for it. It still goes to our tax base.
They're not getting any kinds of incentives to not pay taxes here.
Not on the
No.
not pay taxes.
No.
No. Our incentives have nothing to do with taxes. It includes, I don't even want to,
Water, sewer taps.
water, sewer taps,
Building permit fees.
yeah, building permit fees,
There is some.
But now that's all revenue for the city, isn't it?
yes,
That you're not getting from them.
Yep.
Is that right?
that's right.
Okay.
But to me, that's a short term.
It's a short term.
Long term, we're gonna get yearly that new revenue by the two houses by your house, so that, I think, overall, that's gonna help us way more than, the $50 building permit or whatever it
A lot
might be.
more than what was coming in on that piece of property.
Yeah.
so is there like a website where I can get literature on like what he's being taxed on? So I can kind of do like a comparable.
I would assume, I don't know if that's something on the county parcel,
Yeah, that'd be
The county
can see-
GIS man probably will tell you
County
exactly what
treasurer.
you're being taxed
Yeah.
on.
Tells you a lot of details, tells you everything that it does. And some of it.
yeah, and I would think I don't know exactly what all the tax statement says, but you might be, have you seen his tax statement?
I have that here.
So it doesn't give you,
No, they
All that
don't
number.
give you details. They don't give you details. Appraiser will have the details.
Go up and ask for an appointment with, the lady up there that's very knowledgeable and very patient. She'll go through it with you.
Okay.
A lot of the new building that they're starting to do, you see all over Cherokee County. We kind of like it in Galena, and that's why we went ahead and did a housing incentive as well. But Cherokee County offers housing incentives too for new
Right, but
builds.
sometimes those
So-
incentives don't make it feasible because of y'all's tax rate.
yeah, yes, true. Yeah, it's not gonna hit everybody for sure. It's not
Yeah.
going to incentivize everybody.
It just helps the person that owns a home for. I think Cherokee County's is a 5 year. They do see a decrease in taxes for 5 year. They're called their NOP.
Okay.
So
when I take him tomorrow to protest, when you say it affects what's inside his home and stuff like that, so if he has drop ceilings, hardwood floors, carpet, he's gonna be taxed for that type of amenity?
Not necessarily. It typically will go by what they consider living. So if you have a basement that's not finished, that's technically not considered living. But if you finish that basement with hardwood, any type of a flooring, any type of a sheetrock, then it's going to jump into that. It's considered a living space.
Okay.
So, and that's a lot of the times where they get that at when they just presume that your basement's finished, which is not right.
Yeah, it's
but,
just
yeah.
bare concrete and
Yeah.
a water heater.
So that might help you out.
Okay.
Any
Simply the fact that you have a hard floor, just even a concrete floor, it does get you a percentage, so.
So I need to go shovel dirt down
Maurice, take that off your video.
You might wanna take that,
Any other
father first.
there. Trust me, he won't mind.
All right, we will close the budget hearing. So if you all want to go with the proposed mill rate of 76.584, then we need a motion and a roll call vote. And then if that's what we're going to do, everyone's got to sign the paper before you leave. I know that's a lot.
I'll make a motion that we go with the, mill levy of 76.584.
We have a motion by Bob Turner to adopt the budget mill rate for 25 of 76.584.
Second.
Second by Chastity Reynolds. All in favor?
Send roll call.
Oh yeah, roll call vote. Well, all in favor still.
Mr. Oglesby,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. LaTurner,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, so before you go, just come up with Tracy and sign the paper. Would anybody like to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Neil Oglesby to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Bob Turner. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you for coming. Please don't forget to sign.
Thank you.